The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 8 News Now or Nexstar Media Group.
Went out there and we were onboarding employees, and we were getting hugs and kisses and thank yous, and it's pretty emotional.
Tonight on Politics Now, Primm gets saved. Nevada gaming regulators approve a new plan to keep the town alive.
I don't care if Warren Buffett makes another dollar. That's not important to me. It is important to me that the utility workers at NV Energy stay employed, and they do perform essential services to keep our grid operating.
The race for the Assembly. We'll speak with a Democrat trying to fill a key seat in the South Valley. And the cost of safety. We'll look at the price tag for Metro Police's new counterterrorism unit.
You're watching Politics Now with John Langler on 8 News Now.
Thank you very much for joining us. It seemed like a rare sight in Washington, D.C. this week. Bipartisan agreement on a major issue. The only problem, President Trump isn't following along. This week, Congress agreed on a new affordable housing bill. It reduces federal regulations, speeds up construction, and cuts corporate landlord influence. After passing the House and the Senate, it went to President Trump's desk, but he refused to sign it. Caitlin Huey-Burns reports on the reasoning and the fallout.
It was supposed to be a celebration on Capitol Hill, the president coming to sign landmark housing legislation. But instead, the day featured a shouting match between President Trump and a member of his own party, Senator Bill Cassidy.
The president didn't want to hear my question, interrupted me. I didn't care to be interrupted.
At a lunch meeting with Senate Republicans, the president grew angry at Cassidy, who was among those who voted last night to curb the president's authority on Iran. At one point, each told the other to sit down.
And I'm not going to be bullied.
Trump downplayed the tension.
I think we had a really great meeting.
The squabble overshadowed the passage of the bipartisan bill aimed at increasing the nation's housing supply and lowering costs to buy them. The president abruptly canceled the event to sign it into law with this social media post, upset the Senate has not passed one of his top priorities, a package of national voting restrictions known as the Save America Act, which Senate leaders say they don't have the votes to pass. The cancellation blindsided lawmakers.
It's not helpful. It's not helpful.
It's utterly amazing. Trump is running away from one of the very few accomplishments that could actually help the American people.
Republicans are hoping to campaign on that housing bill ahead of the midterm elections, and it can still become law even without the president's signature, so long as he doesn't veto it within the next 10 days. Caitlin Huey-Burns, CBS News, Washington.
So this follows a recent failure by state lawmakers here in Nevada to pass a housing bill in the special session. A bipartisan package was rejected back in November. It would have capped the number of existing homes corporations can buy to 1,000 properties. The measure was introduced by Democratic State Senator Dina Neal and Republican State Senator Ira Hansen. Even with bipartisan support, though, the measure didn't get 2/3 of both houses that was required to pass. The Vegas Loop is coming to UNLV. This week, Nevada higher ed regents approved the multi-million-dollar project months after rejecting it. In the Boring Company plans, the station will be located right near the Thomas and Mack Center. Late last year, school leaders were against the project, but they changed their mind when the Boring Company agreed to cover all the costs. Vegas Loop opponents, though, aren't convinced.
We believe there is potential substantial upside to UNLV of this project, including to the students, of being able to monetize unused parking.
It's never been necessary for me to use it, and it's never been open for me to be using it. So for us to even be sitting here and acting like this is a benefit, to me it's just, again, just a college that just wants to make profit as always.
The station should take a year to build. Boring Company plans to construct more than 100 stations all across southern Nevada. Now to the race for Carson City. One key battle is in the state assembly, a local teacher running to fill the seat of outgoing Assemblywoman Sandra Jauregui. This week we spoke with Democrat Vinnie Spotleson about his priorities, education, and the environment. So first and foremost, for viewers at home who maybe didn't see some of the campaign in the primary, aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're running for office this time.
Thank you. Yeah, I was raised in Vegas in District 41. I actually grew up here, went to Silverado High School, and what my day job is now is I'm a high school teacher, actually. I teach at Valley. I teach social studies to sophomores. But I've been doing that for about 5 years. For almost 10 years before that, I worked in a variety of roles with nonprofit and government officials around environmental issues, mainly protecting our water, moving to renewable energy, reducing or even stopping pollution altogether. So that's really one of the things that motivated me for running for office, is not only improving the schools, because I see it every day, the different challenges that we have, but also protecting our valuable resources so that my children, future generations can continue to live here, decades in the future.
What lessons have you learned teaching at Valley High School that you would like to bring into the discussion of education funding, of regulations, accountability, all the aspects of public school funding and legislation that always takes up so much time in Carson City?
Yes, and thank you for that question. The biggest thing that I've recognized, and the thing that I want the community to understand, the people that don't work in the schools, school safety is mental health. If our students are mentally healthy, our schools will be safe. Right now, what we're seeing is some budget cuts that are affecting a lot of behavioral health specialists. We're cutting counselor positions. We already only had one psychologist I teach at Valley. She splits her time between 3 high schools. That's at least 2,000 students at each high school. One psychologist for 6,000 students isn't going to cut it. And so when we want good student outcomes, like high achievement in grades, when we want to reduce incidents of violence or vandalism, that all comes back to mental health, safety, security, and students that feel like they can come to school and be their best selves.
Obviously, right now there is some discussion about NV Energy and its billing changes. There's been a lawsuit filed by the Attorney General. It's in the court process, I acknowledge. If you're elected to the State Assembly, what would you like to do with regards to this specific issue? The idea of how NV Energy is billed, the way the PUC maybe oversees what NV Energy is doing in terms of billing. Does anything need to change? Is there something that's missing?
Absolutely, we need to reform the PUC, because the PUC keeps making rulings that go against the development of renewable energy and development of renewable energy specifically that can save us money here in town. In a morning on a sunny day in Las Vegas, we're often already getting 100% of our power from solar energy. And once we pay for those solar panels, NV Energy doesn't really continue to make money from that. So the more people that adopt solar, the more that gets built, the less money they make. What they are trying to do is shift all of us to paying for our energy use at 8 p.m. How much electricity are we using as soon as that sun goes down? And that's the way for them to protect profits in the future when we have more and more solar energy.
Another issue that's come up recently with regards to energy consumption is data centers.
Yes.
And I think people maybe forget that data centers have been in Southern Nevada for some time, but it's gotten a lot of attention in Boulder City, Henderson, and in Clark County as well. If you're elected to the State Assembly, what kind of maybe guidelines should the state lawmakers consider beyond what's already in place?
We've done a lot in Clark County, and I want to build off of that. So currently in Clark County, data centers cannot use what we call evaporative cooling. They can't use water to cool them down. I'd like to see that statewide, that no data center, if you're going to build a data center in Nevada, and I'm not in support of data centers, but there's a big push to build them. So I want to create a set of rules. If you're going to build a data center in Nevada, you have to, anywhere in the state, it has to be closed loop water. That creates more jobs, it saves water. The other thing is they have to use renewable energy. Right now, Switch is using renewable energy. The only issue I have is it's only by bulldozing out in the desert and building solar panels there. Why can't a data center invest in a nearby apartment complex, build out a huge solar array, everybody in that apartment complex gets free electricity, and the extra that they provide goes to feed the data center? Why should data centers be stealing from the community instead of giving back to it? Another example is taxes. Hundreds, I think it's almost $500 million that data centers have avoided in paying taxes.
That was Vinnie Spottelson there running against Republican Kelly Chapman for Assembly District 41. Again, that's in the South Valley, Silverado Ranch. We have the full interview at 8newsnow.com. Pushback, meanwhile, to a new solar farm proposed down in Nye County. Purple Sage Energy Center would be one of Southern Nevada's largest solar plants. The site is south of Pahrump near the California border, covers about 4,500 acres of public land. Critics worry about the impact on local wildlife. You just saw tortoises, I believe, there earlier. One of the critics is Nye County Commissioner Ian Blaine.
I am concerned about the safety of it. I'm concerned about the functionality of it. Is this something that in 20 years we're even going to be doing?
Supporters, unlike Commissioner Bain there, say the project is critical for clean energy demand. Much of the power, though, would be sold to California. We have a lot more on this proposal as well at 8newsnow.com. Nevadans helping Nevadans. It is the motivation behind the effort to save Primm, its casinos, and 300 employees. And now that deal is reality. This week, state gaming regulators approved plans to keep the town open. 8 News Now reporter Nick Summer looks at Primm's future.
With operators targeting a July 4th reopening, the countdown is officially on to see whether these casino resorts can bring guests back in time for one of the busiest travel weekends of the year.
Everybody's chasing dollars. You are concerned with the community, you and your company. First and foremost, the human side first, and it's rare.
This transaction really is about Nevadans helping Nevadans.
You have what you need.
Thursday, the Nevada Gaming Control Board voted to grant Terribles a non-restricted license to operate the 3 casinos in Primm. Now, after months of uncertainty, Tim Herbst with the Terribles family says they're preparing to help write the next chapter for the iconic resort community.
Being a friend of the Primm family, we just felt it was our obligation to call the Primm family and see if there's anything we could do to help.
In a statement, Terribles called Primm an iconic gateway to Nevada and says its immediate priority is the people who make the community work. The company says it has offered continued employment and housing to active team members across the Primm properties.
We went out there and we were onboarding employees, and we were getting hugs and kisses and thank yous, and it's pretty emotional.
Terribles is now anticipating assuming responsibility for operations starting July 1st with the goal to reopen Whiskey Pete's and use Buffalo Bills Casino for special events.
I'm new to gaming, and everyone's told me that 60 days has never been done before.
Corey Clementson, grandson of Primm founder Ernie Primm, says there were many sleepless nights leading up to this vote. He says support for the community has come from all corners of Nevada.
So many people care about the town that your grandfather started and our family, and to be once again have the opportunity again to hopefully have better days ahead, which we believe we're in position to do.
And that was Nick Summer reporting. Terribles says it's working on long-term plans for Primm, which would include resort investments, infrastructure upgrades, and new customer experiences. We'll see if those 2 closed resorts reopen. Metro Police, meanwhile, are expanding their little-known counterterrorism unit. It's called Project Meridian, officially launched in February. The department plans to increase the team's size by 30%. That team analyzes potential threats across southern Nevada. Metro adding about 6 positions and also getting some new equipment.
We have seen an ISIS terrorism plot that was foiled by this unit. We've seen school shootings and mass attackers that have been foiled and stopped. We've seen the threat environment increase in some areas, but then this unit being able to step in and prevent.
Metro says the new upgrades will cost about $1.6 million, although staff won't know the exact total for another 6 months. There's a growing dispute over the future of hangar leases up at North Las Vegas Airport. This week, Clark County's aviation department met with some concerned pilots, a pretty big crowd there. They're worried about a new proposal that would allow the county, they say, to take over private hangars when leases end. County officials deny they're trying to push anyone out. In fact, they say they're working on an airport master plan.
By spending $106,000 on an outside consultant to develop a reversionary policy in the middle of negotiations, their actions speak louder than their words.
That consultant's there to help us understand what the rest of industry is doing across the country at general aviation airports. This is a common thing happening across the country.
The aviation department at Clark County looks to sign new leases by the end of the year. North Las Vegas has more than 150 private hangars. A sign of compromise in a controversial topic. City of Las Vegas now has new plans to change the parking in the downtown arts district. Those plans were unveiled this week. It follows months of pushback from some business owners and workers down there. They say high parking rates hurt their wallets and drive away business. A new parking garage is coming online soon. That's along Casino Center. You can see it there. 500 new spaces. Visitors will pay $3 an hour, and it's capped at $15 a day.
It's still $4 an hour on our prime streets. $4 an hour is a lot, and what the one gentleman in the meeting had talked about, it does discourage people from staying for 8 hours. They'll come and they'll go to a restaurant and then they'll leave.
The city says even since they put the meters in, people are still going to the Arts District. It plans to make weekday parking free, though, until 1 p.m., and it's also adding monthly parking passes. Those changes kick in October, and we have the full details at 8newsnow.com. Next here on Politics Now, Nevada's National Guard on the move. Their new mission in Washington, D.C. And 4 years later, local abortion rights groups discuss the impact of overturning Roe v. Wade.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
Local protests 4 years after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. That ruling ended federal protections for abortions. Abortion rights, though, are protected here in Nevada because of a state constitution, but 22 other states do have bans now or restrictions. At this week's event, advocates shared their concerns about the ruling's impact on women's health.
I believe that laws must honor humanity, not diminish it.
Right.
Thus, showing up for women who have been silenced, shamed, and sidelined is not optional. It is an actual calling.
Nevada had a law requiring parental notification before minors can access abortion care, but the state Supreme Court blocked it. More than 100 Nevada National Guard members are heading to the nation's capital right now. They'll help with security during 4th of July celebrations. Guard members from more than 20 other states are also helping with the events there. This deployment should last through August. Back in the city, street performers, part of the fabric of Fremont Street, under the canopy of the Fremont Street Experience. Their songs, dancing, everything else, supposed to stay inside those circles on the sidewalk, but that doesn't always happen. This week, the city held this town hall to talk about changing street performer regulations. Staff say some people are reserving spots, but then selling them. Proposed changes could include issuing citations if that happens and suspending performers who break the rules.
I think it validated our idea that there's a lot of different opinions amongst the performers, but there are some underlying concerns that all of them share.
All of this could easily be cleaned up. The question is, will it? And I think if this information that they're being given here from some of us who know what we're talking about is taken seriously, then it's a very easy fix.
Other proposals include a performer access card. City staff plan to make future recommendations formally to the council in the future. Coming up next here on Politics Now, CCSD's new police chief, the school district's choice to lead its department moving forward. And taking a bite out of the Big Apple, results of a massive corruption probe coming up.
You're watching Politics Now.
This week in New York City, a new federal bribery investigation came forward. It focuses on former Mayor Eric Adams' inner circle. Prosecutors say his former right-hand man took bribes in 2022. News Nation's Alicia Nieves takes a closer look at this case.
This is a 13-count federal indictment of former Mayor Eric Adams' chief of staff, Frank Carone. It basically alleges that former chief of staff traded access to City Hall and to federal funding in exchange for cash in his pocket. He was arrested and indicted along with 3 others, one of whom was his own brother. This all happening in the last 24 hours, where Frank Carone's home was raided by the FBI before he was taken into custody. In a press release, the first assistant U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of New York said, quote, the defendant exploited the unprecedented migrant crisis in New York City for their own personal gain. Prosecutors say this former chief of staff received $120,000 in bribes in 2022 from the owner of a New York City hotel after helping that owner get a nearly $7 million contract to run the migrant shelter. And that was after the owner was initially denied that contract and the chief of staff then stepped in. The indictment, which has several photos of Carone and that hotel owner together, states the hotel owner then funneled the bribes through a bank account that was controlled by a law firm run by Carone's own brother. Carone and his lawyer denying all wrongdoing here.
And the reason why I'm saddened about what took place is this is a perfect example of the government deciding on a target. They decided that Frank Carone was going to be a target, and they looked at every aspect of his life.
Carone's lawyer goes on to say that this was a Frankenstein indictment, barely pieced together at best and possibly even politically motivated, saying the DOJ was forced to drop charges against Mayor Eric Adams back in 2025, and now they're just trying to go after their next in line as revenge. Remember, Adams faced some similar charges here for bribery and wire fraud over allegations of lavish gifts that he received from Turkish officials, allegedly in return for political gain. After meeting, though, with President Trump back in 2025 and working with the White House on ICE efforts here in New York City, those charges were dismissed. Now, after being arrested, Frank Carone was let go on $2 million bond. He is pleading not guilty along with all of his other co-conspirators. I'm Alicia Nieves in New York City for News Nation.
Other news this week, former Federal Reserve Chair Alan Greenspan has died. He was battling Parkinson's disease at the time. Greenspan served 5 terms as chair from 1987 to 2006. He helped shape the modern American economy. Alan Greenspan was 100 years old. Back here in Southern Nevada, a new police chief for Clark County School District could be a familiar face. You see it right there. Superintendent Joan Ebert plans to hire that man, Metro Police Captain Jeff Clark, for the position of CCSD Police Chief. Captain Clark's been with Metro for more than 20 years. He's been a spokesperson at a lot of crime scenes, other stories in the valley with law enforcement. The trustees will vote on this hiring formally on Wednesday. Coming up here on Politics Now, getting ready for the 4th, where to catch the valley's biggest Independence Day parade. A quick reminder, next Saturday, 4th of July, of course, and once again, the Summerlin Council Patriotic Parade is back. 35,000 people expected there. Brian Loftus, J.C. Fernandez, Sherry Swentz will be hosting. You might see a familiar Politics Now host as well. Hope you can join us for the Patriotic Parade. That's again next Saturday. That'll do it for us this Saturday. Take care.